All right, let's get straight to it. We're talking about gambling disorder today. And let me be clear, this isn't just a run of bad luck. It's not simply a silly habit you can just shake off. This is a serious issue, a real problem that can tear lives apart. Leading mental health guidelines, the ones the experts use, they call this a behavioral addiction. What does that mean? It means it's a persistent pattern of gambling, a pattern that you can't seem to break free from. It leads to major disruptions and distress in your life. You lose control. The gambling starts calling the shots. When it runs your world, it's not a game anymore. We need to be honest about what this really is. It's a recognized illness, not some kind of character flaw you should be ashamed of. Now, some of you might think this is all about losing money. You see someone betting the farm, and you think, wow, they're just terrible with finances. But it goes much deeper than the dollars and cents, you hear me? This disorder is about an overwhelming urge. It's a powerful compulsion to keep on gambling. This happens even when you know, deep down, that it's wrecking everything around you. Even when your family is pleading with you to stop, the negative consequences just keep piling up. We're talking about massive debt. We're talking about broken trust with loved ones. We're talking about lost jobs and missed opportunities. Yet the gambling often continues, almost like you're on autopilot, unable to hit the brakes. That's the kind of tight grip this disorder can have on a person. It is incredibly powerful, and it is incredibly destructive if left unchecked. I know what some folks out there are thinking. They see someone struggling with gambling and they label them. They think it's a sign of weakness. Or maybe they believe it's some kind of moral failing, a lack of willpower. Let me set the record straight for you right now. That kind of thinking is just plain wrong. Gambling disorder is a recognized health condition. It's documented by professionals. It's in the medical books, just like conditions such as depression or anxiety are. And here's the kicker. It can happen to absolutely anyone. It doesn't care about your background, your intelligence, or how successful you are. Smart people, good people, people from all walks of life can fall into this dangerous trap. So it's time we all drop the judgment. It's time we start understanding what these individuals are truly facing. This situation calls for compassion and support, not condemnation and shame. And here's another critical point you really gotta get. This problem, this gambling disorder, it usually doesn't just appear out of nowhere and hit you like a ton of bricks overnight. That's not how it typically works. More often than not, it starts small. It might begin as a bit of innocent fun, a casual bet here or there, but then, if you're not careful, it can grow. It can escalate quietly, sneaking up on you. The bets start getting bigger. The need to gamble becomes more frequent, more urgent. Before you even realize what's happening, you can find yourself in way over your head, drowning in problems. The issues get bigger, the hole you're in gets deeper, and it feels impossible to climb out. That's precisely why early awareness and recognizing the initial signs are so darn important. So, you're probably wondering, why does gambling feel so darn addictive? Why is it so hard to walk away? Let's take a little peek inside your head for a moment at what's happening in your brain. Your brain operates with chemicals, and one very important one is called dopamine. When you gamble, especially if you get a win or even a near win, your brain releases a surge of this dopamine. This chemical makes you feel good. It gives you a rush, a kind of natural high. It's your brain's reward system lighting up like a Christmas tree. Now, this is very similar to how addictive drugs can hijack the brain's chemistry. This dopamine flood creates a powerful, intense urge to repeat the behavior, to chase that feeling again and again. It's not just in your mind, it's biology at work, folks. Ever heard of the near-miss phenomenon? This is a really big factor when it comes to gambling addiction. Imagine this. You almost hit the jackpot on a slot machine. The symbols were so close to lining up perfectly. Or your horse, the one you bet on, almost won the race, just pipped at the post. Your brain gets a significant jolt of excitement from these near wins. And get this, sometimes that jolt from almost winning can be even more stimulating, more enticing than an actual win. It keeps you on the hook. It makes you think, I'm so incredibly close. The very next one has to be it. This powerful psychological effect keeps people glued to the game, chasing that elusive big win they feel is just around the corner. It's a clever trick the mind plays. Then there's a psychological principle at play called variable ratio reinforcement. Now that might sound like a mouthful, something complicated from a textbook, but the idea behind it is pretty simple. Slot machines are a classic textbook example of this in action. When you play, you don't know when you're going to get a payout. It's completely unpredictable. Will it be the next pull of the lever? Or the one after that? Maybe 10 pulls later? This profound uncertainty is an incredibly powerful motivator. It makes the gambling behavior extremely resistant to stopping. You keep playing, you keep betting, precisely because that reward, that win, could come at any moment, on any try. It's a fundamental psychological hook, and frankly, it's often designed to keep you there, spending more time and more money. And it doesn't stop there. People who gamble frequently often start thinking in ways that just aren't logical or rational. We call these cognitive distortions or twisted ways of thinking. For example, you might believe that if you've lost 5 bets in a row, you're somehow due for a win on the next one. That's a common one called the gambler's fallacy. But the truth is, past independent events don't influence future odds in games of chance. Or you might develop a belief that you have a special system, a unique skill, or some kind of inside knowledge that allows you to beat the odds consistently. This is often an illusion of control. These distorted thoughts aren't grounded in reality, not one bit, but they absolutely pour gasoline on the fire of an emerging or existing addiction. So, how can you tell if what seems like a pastime has crossed the line into a real problem? You gotta be vigilant. There are definite signs, clear red flags that you absolutely need to watch out for, either in yourself or in someone you care about. Are you, or is this person, thinking about gambling all the time? Has it become a constant preoccupation, taking up a lot of mental real estate? Do you find yourself, or them, needing to bet more and more money just to get that same level of excitement or thrill that you used to get with much smaller amounts? That escalation is called tolerance, and it's just like what happens with drug or alcohol addiction. And here's another big one. Do you get restless, anxious, or super irritable if you try to cut back on gambling or attempt to stop altogether? These are significant warning signs that shouldn't be ignored. But wait, there's more to look for. Are you or the person you're concerned about starting to lie? Lying to family members, to friends, even to yourself? Trying to hide the true extent of the gambling activity? Trying to cover up how much money has actually been lost? That kind of secrecy, that dishonesty, is a classic indicator that something is seriously wrong. Do you find yourself gambling as a way to escape your problems? Or are you using it to try and numb difficult feelings like sadness, loneliness, anxiety, guilt, or depression? Using gambling as an emotional crutch or a quick fix is a very dangerous path to go down. And then there's the destructive pattern of chasing losses. That's when you lose money, so you immediately gamble more, often betting bigger, in a desperate attempt to win back what you lost. It almost never works out, and usually just digs a deeper hole. You also need to look at the real-world fallout in your life, or in the life of the person you're worried about. Has gambling started to put your important relationships at risk? Are you constantly fighting with your spouse or partner over money spent on betting? Have you, or they, jeopardized or even lost a job because of gambling-related issues, like being distracted, being late, or even stealing? Or has it messed up educational opportunities or career advancement? These are not small things, people. These are serious, life-altering consequences. Are you borrowing money from anyone and everyone, selling personal possessions to get cash for gambling? Or worse, are you relying on others to bail you out of desperate financial situations that were directly caused by your betting habits? These behaviors clearly show that the disorder is tightening its grip and taking over control. So how do the professionals, the doctors and therapists, actually figure this out? How do they make a diagnosis? Well, it's not just a random guess or a gut feeling. They use specific, established criteria to make an assessment. These criteria often come from a manual called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-5 for short. This is the guidebook used by mental health professionals. They look for a clear, persistent, and recurring pattern of problematic gambling behavior. It's a pattern that leads to clinically significant impairment or distress in various aspects of a person's life. A diagnosis usually involves identifying several of these characteristic signs and symptoms occurring over a period of time, typically within a 12-month window. It's a careful and thorough process designed to get an accurate picture of what's really going on. Alright, so if you recognize there's a problem, either for yourself or someone else, what in the world can you do about it? Well, here's the good news, and I want you to hear this loud and clear. There is absolutely help available. Effective treatment exists, and recovery is possible. One very common and often successful approach is called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. This type of therapy helps you take a hard look at your thoughts and beliefs. It helps you identify those irrational, twisted beliefs that fuel the gambling. Then, it teaches you practical skills and strategies to change those negative thought patterns, and consequently, the destructive behaviors. It equips you with tools to manage cravings and fight the powerful urges to gamble. It's essentially about rewiring how your brain responds to those old triggers. But listen, formal therapy isn't the only game in town when it comes to getting help. Support groups can be an absolute lifeline for many people struggling with gambling disorder. You've probably heard of Gamblers Anonymous, or GA. These groups are structured around a 12-step program which is very similar in principle to Alcoholics Anonymous. There's incredible power in talking to other people who have walked in your shoes, people who've been through the same struggles. They truly understand what you're experiencing. They don't judge you, they support you. That kind of peer support, that shared understanding and encouragement, can make all the difference in the world on the road to recovery. Sometimes, family therapy is also a crucial component, helping to heal damaged relationships and build a strong, supportive network right there at home. Now let's talk about something really important. How do we stop this thing before it even starts or takes deep root? Prevention is absolutely key, folks. We need to do a much better job of educating everyone, especially our young people, about the very real risks and potential dangers associated with gambling. It's not always just harmless fun and games, and they need to understand that. Implementing early screening for gambling problems in doctors' offices, schools, or community centers could help catch emerging issues much sooner, before they escalate. Communities themselves can also step up to the plate. We need to offer more healthy, positive alternatives for recreation, entertainment, and stress relief. And yes, sensible regulations also matter. Things like self-exclusion programs, deposit limits, and other responsible gaming features on gambling websites and apps can provide important safeguards to help protect vulnerable individuals. So let me leave you with this final thought, and I want it to sink in. There is absolutely positively hope for recovery from gambling disorder. I've seen it happen time and time again. But you, or the person struggling, have got to be willing to take that first courageous step. Reaching out for help, acknowledging the problem, that's where it begins. And understand this, early action makes a huge, tangible difference in the outcome. We also, as a society, need to work much harder to stop the stigma surrounding this disorder. People need to feel safe and supported when asking for help, not ashamed or embarrassed. Let's start talking more openly and honestly about gambling disorder. Let's make absolutely sure that effective help is easy to find and readily accessible for everyone who needs it. Recovery is a journey, not a race, but it's a journey that is profoundly worth taking. You can get your life back.